Okay, I think you can see me now. Sawadee D-Chan, Ariel Ka. Hi, everybody. I am in my car leaving Hobby Lobby. I had to get some more equipment for my sewing because I'm getting ready to start sewing and I don't have everything I need. And I'm attempting to do some pattern making, so I needed some pattern paper. So I came here to get that and a ruler and some other supplies just to start working on my sewing machine because I really, really want to make a pair of pajamas, like a couple of pair for the winter because it's starting to get cold now. And so on my way over here, I was listening to Ravenover and on YouTube, and she was talking about privilege in transgender women, like, you know, how some girls go online and they just really read other trans girls for not being as passable and for not being as pretty, and if they happen to get murdered, they always blame the victim. And it just kind of struck me, like, you know, thinking about, you know, my journey. And when I was at Disney, that was going back to 2000, 2001. So I got, like in 1999, I got this, in December of 1999, I went to a doctor and she basically, you know, did all the tests and she's like, yeah, you'd be a good candidate for trans or whatever. And so I started my transition and I was still working at Disney. And at that time, I'd been there almost nearly 10 years. And I got my 10-year plaque and everything was going fine in Magic Kingdom. And I was in the parades department at that point. And when I had to actually tell my boss that I was trans and that I was transitioning, one of my coworkers went behind my back and told her for me before I had a chance to say anything. And she started coming down to the parade route every day, inspecting my hair to see how long it was. And she wanted me to cut my hair all of a sudden. And I had kind of like a short bob cut looking hair, like for probably like the whole entire time I was there. Like they hired me with that hair. And it was processed, you know, straight. I always chemically straighten my hair and keep it kind of like a bob cut. And then when I started transition, it was still short. It had grown out a little bit, but it wasn't short enough to really, nobody would ever say anything because it wasn't that long. And I wasn't growing my hair out anyway. I was wearing wigs. And so for her to all of a sudden show up at the parade route, it was kind of awkward, you know, because I was like, well, why should she come to the parade route every day? And she's passing hundreds of performers and always focusing in on me every day. And to the point where I finally had to come out to her and tell her the truth. And then she slowly she turned into like this evil person and started to slightly take my privileges away, which I had a lot of seniority. So I would get, you know, first privilege on any overtime, any special events. And those of you who work for Disney know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, you do all of the different private events for big companies that come. As Pluto, I was doing Pluto, Eeyore, and a lot of other characters that were like 5'7". And so when everybody's kind of like the shit hit the fan and everybody knew, a lot of the girls who didn't want all of a sudden to see me in the girls' bathrooms and stuff like that, or girls who were jealous because they knew I was the VIP girl down at the nighttime spot, which was Pleasure Island down at the mannequins, they all would go, like in passing, I could hear them saying, well, she doesn't look like a girl. Her shoulders are too wide. You know, they would say, oh, well, she's ugly. No, she's not attractive enough to be a girl. And although I was already the VIP girl downtown and they would see me every Thursday night, and I was there 7 nights a week because I go every night, they still would say like little spiteful things, and I would be crying because, you know, my feelings was like already, like everything was getting taken away from me. So I would just sit there and tear up and cry. And I remember this girl, she used to do poo. We used to call her Ghetto Poo because she was a hot mess. And she always would come to me and talk to me and stuff. And she sized my body up against hers. She goes, you see how wide my fucking shoulders are? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, don't ever let them bitches make you feel like you can't live your life, you know, truthfully, because women come in all shapes and sizes. We're not all just the same frame. She goes, my shoulders are just as wide as yours. She goes, and you're really pretty, and a lot of them aren't pretty, and they're just jealous. And I was just like shocked because I never heard like an actual girl come to me and like stop me from feeling so horrible, because everything was happening kind of rather fast. And then like I was also dealing in the background with my family, because I had to tell them at the same time. And I was trying to hold off on telling my job just to get through my family situation first, and that didn't work out. The shit hit the fan from all directions, and it was crazy. And when Raven was talking about not judging people, and like we're all not cut from the same cloth, and the same thing was, it really struck me. It made me cry a little bit, because I know I've seen a lot of girls online talking negatively about trans girls who don't look as passable, and as if we all fit the Barbie doll mold, and everybody doesn't look like that. I look more like my mother. I'm shaped more like my mother. My mother's like, actually her shoulders are a little bit shorter than mine. Like my shoulders are wide, but was a more petite kind of little round lady, and that's kind of how I've evolved. I wasn't born fat or anything. I was a skinny kid, and then after I stopped dancing, like when I get in my 30s, that's when I start packing on the weight. And so yeah, so it's just one of those things. Like, we're not all the same. We don't look the same. I don't want to be white. I don't want to be light skinned. I don't want to be anything other than what I already am. The only thing I changed physically is that I took the hormones, and it just gave me curvature everywhere, and that's what I wanted. And that was it. I didn't want to be anything other than who I see myself as, and I didn't want to model myself after another person, because as a young person, you do look up to celebrities, you do look up to people, and then when you see them in their actual life, when the shit hits the fan with them, and they've been drunk or they've been caught doing something they shouldn't be doing, then you just realize, oh, that money and that fame's not all that. They're just a regular human being, just like everybody else. And I think what's hardest for me, listening to when Raven talks about these girls' death, is that you don't get to hear their side of the story. All you hear is the men saying they didn't know, which it's a lie. They always know. And the people in the community will sit there and say they didn't know, but they know. Everybody around them knows. And unless they're just a complete stranger coming in and some mishap happens, that's very rare. That's probably 1%, and probably less than that. Most 9 times out of 10, I truly believe the people around you in your community know about you. They know what you are. They just, want to play games and get on the internet and do Insta clicks and hype up stories and blame the victim, because they know a lot of these girls, they want that fast cash because they want to do their bodies. They want to look that hourglass figure, or they want the bodies that they want. And, if you don't have that body, you got to do what you got to do to do it. And even when I first started, I had a boyfriend who was a Puerto Rican guy that I dated, and his ex was a transsexual, and he took me to some backwoods type person that was real sketchy. He looked like he was from Haiti or somewhere. I don't know where the hell that man was from, but he was weird. And he was trying to get me to pay him $100 to pump some oil into my body. He wanted to do my boobs and my butt, and I was like, no. I said, what the fuck is that oil? He could never tell me. Then he couldn't speak enough English. His English was so broken, I couldn't understand him. And he was like in a dark alley, like talking to him. I was like totally uncomfortable, so I was like, you know what, I don't want to do anything. I just, thank you for introducing me to him, but I'm not in a rush to do anything, And shortly after that, that was like way in the beginning of my transition, I started taking the hormones, and the hormones started like right away, like tearing my ass up. Like, I started growing, my boobs started growing out, my body was just in pain every day. It's hard to wear shirts and stuff like that. And I didn't have to do all of that cosmetic surgery. I was planning to do the boobs, but I found out that my skin was scarred so bad that no doctor, when they would see the scars that I had on my breast, on my chest area at the time, they wouldn't touch me. They're like, you're too much of a risk. Like, if we put these implants in you and your body starts scarring up, and that gets out that I did that, then that could ruin my business. And I went to 2 or 3 different ones, and they all rejected me. I just cried because when you want to transform yourself to feel like a whole person, it's disappointing when it doesn't happen instantly. It takes time. And I'm glad I didn't do it because I grew up to about like a C size C cup, and I'm very happy with what I have. Like I have no complaints, and I didn't have to do implants and stuff like that. I wanted to just to kind of have a more of that, defined look, but at the end of the day, boobs come in all shapes and sizes, and it's the same thing. And I think I had to really learn to not listen to other people and learn how to listen to my inner voice and listen to nature and things that make me happy in order to be able to maneuver all the negativity that I was experiencing when I was at Disney. And it was horrible. I'm not going to lie to you. I cried when I finally had to give up and say, I got to leave. Like, I literally made a decision. I put my 2 weeks notice in. People were crying. They were upset. Some people were happy, more happy probably than sad. But those people who were upset, they all signed a going away card. And I still have it. It's hard to look at it. It's a lot in Spanish, a lot of English, and letters and addresses. I didn't dare, contact anybody because I was so embarrassed. Trying to save my own life and being humiliated at the same time. It was like trying to juggle, do I take the pills and die, or do I try to fix myself and move on? Because it wasn't about men, it wasn't about anybody, it was about me in my mind, and how I wake up feeling every day and looking at my body as a boy and not having a connection to my body. And it's hard for me to listen to other trans girls who don't have that type of issue, because I'm like, how is it that you're living as a girl but you still enjoy touching your penis and enjoy using your penis sexually, even though I know that's part of the deal with them. But for me, no, I just don't get it. And that's why we say we're all very different, even though we all share commonality as womanhood. It comes very differently, and we are packaged very differently. And I'm not a porn person, so don't approach me like that, because what's going on with me has to do with me. It ain't got shit to do with porn or sex or anything like that. And it was so hard, almost about to kill myself. And I just feel like, God stepped in time, because I really did not fit in the gay community at all in Florida. I did not have any business in anybody's gay club whatsoever. I was so out of place. And trust me, I tried. I went to many, many bars with many friends and hung out. And I was there. It's like crickets. Like nobody wanted anything to do with me. And when I did finally approach some guys I thought were cute and everything, they basically told me off that I was too much of a girl. And if they wanted a girl, they would stay straight. And I was flabbergasted, because I really thought that was my community. And as much as people try to claim and gel us all together, it's not like that in reality. If you look like me, my black ugly ass or whatever, that's not the situation. I didn't experience that glamour, that glitz, that inclusivity that, you hear so many gay people talk about. And it's like, I went to one gay pride parade, and I'm not kidding you, when I walked one block in, here comes the damn KKK down the street on horses and flags and everything, right behind me. And I completely lost it, because I had never seen anything like that before in my life. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. That was it for me. I was like, I'm not doing any more LGBT stuff, because it's too scary. And thank God for the internet, because it's safer, behind a camera. You can support people, and you don't have to physically be there and put yourself in physical harm's way, unless you choose to. I can do it. I tried, and I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, it's not really worth it for me to put myself as the guinea pig out here for a cause that really doesn't see me as a human being, or doesn't really want to include me in their LGBT sentiment. And I just left it at that, because I was like, don't put a title on me when I tried for years trying to fit in with all these people, and they act like I didn't exist. But at that time, I didn't know what trans was. I just thought I was part of the gay community. And that's when I didn't, I finally gave up, and I started thinking, well, just take the pills, because you don't fit in with nobody. You don't fit anywhere. And that night I went out to the bar. I ran into a coworker who had brought his girlfriend from Mexico, and introduced her to me. And he was like, "Can you hang out with her? Because she doesn't have any friends. She don't speak English that well, and you know of no Spanish. You can communicate with her." And so me and her started hanging out. And after about a day or two, she, I found out she wasn't a real girl. She was actually trans. And that was the first time I'd ever heard of that. I was just like, what the hell is a trans? Like, it blew my mind. And I've told this story before in some of my past. I'm just trying to tie it all in together. This is what really saved my life, because once she said it, it kind of like, I asked her why would she think I was a trans, and she goes, well, just look at yourself. You're just like a girl. She goes, you're not a gay. You don't act like a gay. You act like a girl. And I was like, I never really had put it into words like quite the way she did in her broken Spanish. And it took me like a while to digest it, and I kind of played back in my head, like, what was going on and things that had gone on in my life. And then it just dawned on me like, oh my God, it really makes sense. A lot of shit is starting to tie together. And I had to go all the way back to my first memory of being attacked by my cousin's boyfriend. And he had said, oh, that little kid's going to be an F word. I'll just, I'll leave it at that. It was something fresh that you should not say to a child. And I remember like all the people around laughing and giggling, and I just didn't know what he was talking about. But then I never forgot it. I just cried about it because I didn't know what he was saying, but I do remember it now. And then like just piecing it all together, I realized like, oh, I do have another option. So when I went to the doctor, I told the doctor, I was crying and everything and telling her everything why I felt like I just wanted to end my life. And she was like, let's go ahead and test you or whatever, and we'll go from there. So she tested me. She came back a week later, and she goes, well, you'll have an easy transition. She goes, you shouldn't have a hard time. Some people need a lot of work to transition. I don't think you're going to have a problem. Like, you're just going to be very easily with this, and you'll transition and live your life. You'll probably marry somebody rich. And I just think in my mind, like, I don't want to marry anybody. I just want to fix myself, and it was just went along like that. And she was very right. Everything went very smoothly. I transitioned. It was hard to leave my job and be ran off. But I knew at the end of the day, life goes on. There'll be other jobs. I'm an educated person. Like, there's no reason for me not to get a job. I was scared going into the, abyss, and there was a lot going on. But I survived it. And so, just listening to Raven today, it gave me a lot of pause to reflect on what she's saying, because I get it. I experienced that. And this is a long video, so I'm going to stop talking now. I got to get to the store and get home. And I'm going to upload this, and hopefully you guys will tune in to Raven if you get a chance. Check out her channel on YouTube. Like, share, support, and donate. We always trying to survive on our donations and build up our channels and stuff. In COVID-19, a lot of us still aren't working. I think I go back to work next week. I get my tooth pulled tomorrow. Thank God they're finally going to pull this one, and then the next one they'll pull in a couple of weeks, because I'm in so much pain. And without the pain medication, I'd probably be like, I don't know what I would do, but it was really bad. But yeah, so thank you, everybody. Sawadee. I'm still doing my tie. Actually came to get some crafting paper to print out some stuff from my refrigerator, because I'm doing Thai alphabet and letters and words and stuff too. So I'm learning the language still, practicing it still, watching all of the BL series, and I hope you guys can tune into some of the BL series. They're really good. I'm doing Philippines also. So I'm doing Filipino language and Thai language together. Still Asia, what can I do? They're all good. So thank you, everyone. Sawadee, take care. Fandina Kamins. Good night. And thank you for listening.